Okay. All right, moving on, if I could just remind everybody to please silence your cell phones, put them on vibrate or turn them off, please. And I'll also remind people as we're talking to please refrain from responses or outbursts in the gallery this evening as we move through the business. At this point, we'll go ahead and move into public forum. And I've got 3 speakers signed up. Mr. Ron Hensley.
Mr. Mayor, councilors, Ron Hensley, 300 Branding Iron, Rio Rancho. At my last diatribe, I offered several criticisms of the administration of the Utilities Commission. These were echoes of assertions I have made many times. My comments were directed toward the administration. While there are people that are part of administering, administration is a process. And I would like to emphasize that I have the utmost respect and admiration for the staff and dedicated professionals that I have worked with in the Utilities Department. I was voicing my dissent and assertions of an ignored and broken process and the actions that are going to make the process worse. But unfortunately, only my motivation, honesty, and integrity were the issue, although the references to my humility and ego may have some validity. As I've stated previously, I think all public hearing testimony offering statements of fact to this body should be under oath. I take the statements I make in this forum to be of utmost consequence. The representations I make are based on the evidence I have observed and that can be supported. The requirement of truth in the statements made to this body are a moral duty of us all. But in my case, it is also a professional responsibility. It was said that you can't make the truth out of a lie by repeating it. Similarly, a true statement is right from the start. While on that subject, I would like to clarify a couple of representations made during the previous meeting. The first seems to be the very cornerstone of an ordinance amendment. The statement that the Utilities Commission has remained unchanged for 20 years was inaccurate. To the contrary, the Commission has been modified by ordinance at least 3 times and charter amendment by special election. At its inception, the Commission was given complete authority over the utilities with 4 members appointed from the citizenry at large and an ex officio member from the governing body. I think it could be argued that this is the most significantly modified body we have. The next clarification is in reference to spending on water main replacement. In reviewing the ICIP for the past several years, I found no capital spending for water main replacement. The project does finally appear in the 2016-2021 ICIP, but I wouldn't say it's smashing the charts at number 11 with no spending in 2016. It appears with approximately $279,000 of previous spending, which I believe was due to a budget transfer due to the Northern Unser disaster. So yes, some of the rate increase has been for main replacement. It was $279,000 of the $68.2 million, or 0.4% of spending on current ICIP projects. I hope this information adds some clarity. The sentiment expressed at the last meeting was that we are free to say what we want, but it should be true. A sentiment that I hope will apply to us all. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. David Baldwin.
I'm Dave Baldwin, 4905 26th Avenue Northeast. I'm here tonight to commend Police Officer John Harlan and his partner on their presentation of a police information exchange seminar last week at the library. This was pertaining to how to respond to an active shooter situation. It was an excellent presentation and very well presented, and I want to encourage more such presentations. As a matter of fact, I would like to suggest that you make that into a video and put it on the city website, because it's not a matter of if, but it's a matter of when this kind of crap happens again. And when I was young, we spent a lot of time preparing for duck and cover for responding to a nuclear attack. That was a way of life, and we learned to live with it. And, you know, guns are a fact of life today, just like rattlesnakes. And I would suggest to the gun control people, instead of demonizing the NRA, why don't you embrace their gun safety training that's available? They have excellent programs to offer to the kids in school on dealing with gun safety. Training in gun safety and training in respect for a gun just like a rattlesnake is going to be far more effective than, you know, any kind of new gun control stuff. And anyway, I just wanted to offer that suggestion about making those into a video on the city website. I think that would reach a larger number of people if you did that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baldwin. Tom Carter.
My name is Tom Carter. I've been a resident here since 1983, and I'm here to talk about two subjects, and that's weeds and roads. I got some photographs here, basic District 1 and 2, about weeds growing in the road, between the curb and the road, on Tulip Road. Nothing's been done about that situation. Another section here is at the intersection of Sunset and Tulip, where I live, nearby, about 4 houses away. And this is weeds that was maintained initially. They're not now. Nobody can actually walk through there. There's all kinds of stickers, and nobody can actually go there and do any walking. As far as roads, this particular road is Idalia Road from Unser to Abrazo. I work for the Rio Rancho School District in transportation as a special needs attendant. And this is just outside our lot. The road is falling apart. And it's been that way for years. And the question I'm going to ask is, when is the city ever going to repave this road? What year, what decade, or what century is this road ever going to be repaved by the city? It's an eyesore. And I have a feeling the problem is that as a city of vision, we're becoming a city of neglect. So I give this to you to review, and hopefully you can answer those kinds of questions and when these things can be fixed.
And Tom, if you hand those to the clerk when you, yeah, that way they'll have them.
I thank you for your time, and hopefully we can get this resolved. I think a lot of people have other road issues and weed issues also.
And I'm sorry, did you say it was Idalia from where to where?
From Unser to Abrazo. As I understand, this particular road was paved by the owner of that bus lot for the school district. And of course, there's been some new development over there with those apartments. And a section of it has been repaved with curbs. The other section has not. But every time it rains, the road just keeps falling apart. So I don't know where the money's going to come from, but I want to know what kind of priority are we going to have on roads. I've talked to you once before at one of your meetings, and I suggested that try to have some kind of a program, either by a combination of the state, the county, and the city, to have an ongoing roads program such that, as an example, every residential street be repaved every 10 years, and all these roads be restriped every 4 years. There needs to be money to make this happen. That's basically it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that's all on public forum. Counselors, any comments?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Counselor Smith.
I wanted to address Mr. Hensley once more. I wanted to express my appreciation that you actually got a hold of me via email to address the concerns you have. It was very enlightening. I also see that in the paper you took one of the quotes they indicated to you, and sometimes what I say can be construed as talking out both sides of my mouth, I guess you could say. I have a lot of frustration when it comes to the Utilities Commission. I've been quoted as saying that we should get rid of them. My personal belief is that I base that statement off of past actions with regards to the commission. Case in point, the need for you to come forward and further inform us with regards to your concerns. And I stand by that quote, and I mean it now, with regards to your professionalism. But I also meant what I said at the last meeting as well. It gets frustrating. People will come forward, and there's two ways to address us. You can feed us information, and we can do the best to make the decisions that we feel is correct for the city, or you can start a bar fight, a one-sided bar fight. I felt that other time that was the intent or the goal, was just to take jabs at the governing body, and a great deal of assumptions were made. So again, I just wanted to indicate to you, I appreciate it. I mean that quote even more so now that you did take the time to reach out, and we were able to sit down and discuss in detail your concerns. So the public knows, as I put that request out after he reached out to me, that anybody from the commission could have come to that meeting. The more information I can get, the better my decisions would be. So again, thank you. And on the topic of weeds and roads, Mr. Riesberg, how many crews do we have for the city of Rio Rancho that'll address weeds or go through and fix the cracks for roads?
That would be a better question for Scott Sensenbauer as to the specific number of crews. I know it will vary in terms of what we have the crews working on, but we have multiple crews that go throughout the city on any given day.
And he's going to just go ahead and assume that we're never going to call him forward tonight and hide back there again?
That's what he's hoping for, yes.
All right, thank you.
Mr.
Yield
Mayor,
the floor.
Counselor Wilkins.
I'd like to make a couple comments too. I appreciate former Chairman Hensley's comments. I think some things were said in frustration up here too, but I understand your frustration. And I don't know how how else are you supposed to come and talk to the governing body when it didn't go through the Utilities Commission to start with, to have comments and recommendations on it. If we wanted information from the utilities, we probably should have sent it back through the utilities. I've always appreciated your comments. We haven't always agreed, reuse of water for one, but you've always been respectful. But I understand you can get frustrated when you feel like you're being bypassed and not listened to. So I'm listening, and hopefully we can make things a little bit better tonight still. I agree with Mr. Baldwin. I hope, Keith, that we could put this on video, maybe a YouTube channel. Actually, I was wanting to go to that myself and active shooter thing, but I couldn't make time. So I'd be interested in seeing that myself. And then to Mr. Carter, I'm District 1 City Councilor. I've made a few calls this last month here trying to get weeds done on Southern. We had a couple issues up there, and we got some done up there. I'm just going to be straightforward and honest with you. To redo every road in Rio Rancho every 10 years, I don't think you could afford it. I don't think 80% of the people in the city could afford that. It's just not reasonable. When will your street get done? When will Tulip get done? You're probably right, over a decade. We have other roads, collector roads that are going to have to get done, and I don't see those getting really done without a tax rate increase now. So, and you won't like to see what it would take to get roads done in 10 years. I start looking and I'm thinking, and I'm driving on the roads, and, I drive the roads too. In fact, I do Tulip every day, and hopefully staff will take a look at the intersection there of Lisbon and Tulip also, because there's a garage there that has been tagged, and it's been that way for about 2 weeks, and it's a homeowner, so hopefully we can get somebody on that. Used to be a mobile home, but it's gone. But again, you're not going to want to see the number, and it's just not reasonable to do them every 10 years. I don't even think we could do them every 20 years. So I appreciate your frustration, and I'd like to see them get done too, but we have to stay within what people can afford. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Counselor Everett.
I want to, this is no consolation, I know, to Mr. Carter, but in District 3, which I represent, my first term was, as a city councilor, was 2014, and I got maybe half a dozen complaints about weeds. This year, I lost count, and while Scott and his crews make an effort to get out, not only for weeds, but for trees and other landscaping along the roadways that are either growing out of control or dying and waiting to fall over on somebody. It is, I think, a broken windows syndrome, which is used to describe urban areas that start to go downhill when even small things aren't fixed. And Councilor Wilkins is right. We don't have money in our current budget, and I don't think anybody would want to pay. It would be homeowners association dues on steroids to try to fix what we have. But I know that Scott and the crews are trying hard to keep up, or at least to get some work done in different sections of the city. And unfortunately, I appreciate your bringing the pictures, because those could have been taken on Enchanted Hills Boulevard, on Inca Drive, on the vacant commercial property. Well, that's a different problem, but the rains have killed us this year with weeds, but the roads, even in Enchanted Hills, which is a relatively new subdivision compared to older parts of Rio Rancho, especially the residential streets are, you could put a case of soda pop in some of the cracks. But we're trying to deal equitably and responsibly with all areas of the city, because this is affecting all areas of the city. But we certainly want to hear from folks like you, because it reminds us of why we're here, and to keep our eyes on that prize. As for the Utilities Commission, there's a gentleman in town named Gordon Hawley, who's kind of a scholar emeritus on a whole bunch of things having to do with the city. He served on the Utilities Commission. I believe he's served in other volunteer capacities. And he did a paper about 3 years ago that he showed to me, showing ways that the Utilities Commission was not following some of its own policies and procedures, which we're now in the process of doing. Again, this is not a perfect world. We're not perfect people. We're trying our best to improve things, build a better community, and we appreciate the comments that help us keep our feet on the ground. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Counselor Robinson.
Mr. Mayor, I'd also just like to address Mr. Carter. I agree with both the counselors on both sides here. I understand the frustration with weeds. I too have gotten a ton of calls this year. The extra water certainly didn't help. And I understand the frustration with roads. There are my road, all the roads around town, really, not all of them, but there's a significant amount that need work. And I'm reminded there was a letter to the editor about maybe a week and a half ago, calling on the mayor to fix all the roads. And I think that I'd just like to take this moment to try to explain the predicament that we're in. Because we all want new roads. I mean, we all want clean, the sides of the roads to be clean and have no weeds on them too. But as to the roads, Councilor Wilkins is right. It is unrealistic to do them all. To give you a little perspective, we probably have over $500 million worth of road needs right now as we speak. Probably, we definitely do. And our city budget annually, after you take out salaries and debt, both of which we have to pay, is about $11 million a year. And that includes our libraries, our police cars, our parks. How you, with $11 million a year, fix a over $500 million problem is very difficult. And sadly, until a couple of years ago, the people who sat in these chairs for the 30 years before us didn't see fit to maintain and fix roads. And so we are empathetic, we understand, and I've submitted some ideas on some, things that we can do to make small fixes, because that's all we can now. Other people have as well. I know the staff is talking about a road bond, but every time I hear from citizens, they say, well, I don't want to raise my taxes. Well, we're going to have an honest conversation. If you want all the roads fixed, they have been neglected for 30 years, much like our water system, and we need to start figuring out creative ways to start chipping away at these things. So I just wanted to acknowledge that, and I wanted to say, just kind of paint the picture of where we're at, and we are hearing you and trying to fix it. It's just not, like Councilor Wilkins said, something that people could afford if we just want to raise all the taxes and do them right now. And one of the things that you saw tonight, believe it or not, the Buy Rio Rancho program, and there's other efforts out there trying to teach people to buy in our community. We as Rio Ranchoans spend $550 million a year in Albuquerque. If we would just spend a portion of that here, that's, over $10 million a year. That would, basically double what we have to work with and help us fix some roads. So we all got to pitch in together and get through this problem together. That's a long-term solution, one part of it. We all are working on other parts of it. But just know that we're not ignoring it. It's a difficult puzzle, and we need to work together to fix it. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, Councilor Clayton.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I would be remiss if I did not refer back to our moment of meditation at the beginning of the session this evening by omitting the name of the major in the Air Force who lost her life a short few weeks ago in Afghanistan. I'm embarrassed to say I can't remember her name, but she was buried with honors this past week in the Air Force Academy, where she graduated with honors. She gave her life for this country in Afghanistan, along with 5 others, when the helicopter she was in crashed. I think she deserves at least a moment of silence for her giving her life for the safety of this country. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Be more than happy to go ahead and recognize that moment right now. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, just an aside, she was a teacher here at Rio Rancho High School, so there was a lot of people in this city that knew this lady.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that. And, okay, any further comments by councilors? Hearing none.